Hey everybody, this video is about the installation of a Samsara camera into a 579 sleeper berth. We got a good specimen here to work on this morning. We're going to walk you through the different parts and pieces of how to get the Samsara camera installed into this truck. So for the install on a 579 or pretty much any one of our trucks that's going to go in that already has a camera system existing, you're going to need some parts and pieces to get this job done. And so let's talk about that. So first of all, you're going to need a dual facing dash camera. So that's the CM34. You're going to need an HD camera connector. This will allow you to connect the outside camera. Then you'll need the outside camera. For the 579 sleeper berth, we're using a surface mounted camera, and you'll get to see what that looks like here in a bit. You'll also potentially need an upgraded cable for hooking into the vehicle gateway. If the gateway is an older style gateway, such as a VG34, it will have to be replaced with a VG35, and you'll need this new cable. We are replacing all VG34s with brand new 55s, so you want to have that cable handy. The last thing you're going to need here is a cable or the camera extension. So this is a 3-meter cable, and it'll allow you to get from the install point of the camera up to the HD camera gateway. So those are the parts and pieces you're going to need for this install. So on these 579s, the camera mount is going to go on the cab extender. And it's going to be a flush mounted camera, and so the hole is going to go through the extender, and then we're going to run our cable down, up through the bunk, and then up to the front. So that cable from the extender in the back, or from the outside camera, is going to come through the back, and I'm going to show you how that's done. It's going to come under this sill plate, and then all of our equipment is going to be underneath the footwell here on the passenger side. In this step, first step, we're going to get the cable extension run from the cab back to where the camera is going to go. The reason we do this is we're going to let gravity be our friend in getting the cable through the sleeper holes and down into and below the cab. That little access point right there allows it to drop down into the storage below the bunk, and from there we'll be able to take it down the access hole that's already underneath the cab, sleeper cab. It should come down and should have plenty of access here. Now this is going to go underneath the floor mat back into this back corner, and there's already a grommet there with some wires, and that's what we're going to use to get this cable out of the cab and up to the camera. There's a grommet with some wires back in here, and that's the one we're going to remove to pull our camera cable down. So just get up in there, loosen that up, and then get it to the point where you can actually get to this grommet. Next step is going to be pushing the cable down through that hole. Okay, so our Samsara flush mounted camera as the name indicates, it's going to be flush mounted to the side of the truck. Cable comes out the back, so we're going to need a hole in this cab extender to get that cable through to the other side. We don't want to drill into the sleeper itself, only the extender. So we want to bring it far enough back to where it'll go through, but not so far that we have tons of cable just draping around the back. So our best guesstimate here is start your hole dead center about 5 inches, right at 5 inches, centered on the stripe from where the extender begins. And that's where we're going to mark and put our hole, is right at 5 inches. Inches back. And then we're going to be, the stripes are 4 inches, so we're going to be at 2 inches. So that's where we're going to start our hole, is right there. Using a 3/4 inch bit, this will allow the cable head to go through smoothly and allow the camera to mount nice and neat. All right, and there's our hole. Thing to be cautious of is when you're drilling this hole, especially at that 5 inches, it's right behind the sleeper berth itself. I pushed a little too hard and I nicked the back of the sleeper berth here. So you want to make sure that you don't do that. Before we're able to mount the camera itself, we got to take the housing off and the mount separate. The camera kit does come with an Allen wrench. This particular one came from the CM34 kit, but it will also work if you need one. So we're going to remove all 4 of the corner screws to disconnect this. So we've separated the housing cover, or the camera housing cover, from the rest of the camera. Now note how the camera comes in from behind. Don't make the mistake like I've done in the past and push the cable through and thinking that's how it works. The camera has to be from behind. So we're going to mount this piece without the camera to the cab. All right, so once you get your hole drilled and you put your grommet through, actually we can just have that. So we'll put the grommet in and then get it set up so that we can drill our other holes for mounting screws. So okay, so now we got our holes drilled. Let's get our camera in. And just for a point of reference, there's a white line here on the camera. That's the top of the camera. Don't pay any attention to that red tab. That's just the cover for the camera, the safety cover for the camera. So it doesn't have to be exactly in position at this point. All we're going to do is we're going to get our mount cover back on. Screws in and putting the housing on. Make sure not to tighten them all the way down because you are going to want to be able to move this around. You get them fairly close to being tightened, but not all the way. You want to be able to move it around and be able to make sure that it's straight up and down with this line. Don't forget to take the cover off of that. Otherwise the pictures will be blurry. The cable that we shoved through the bottom of the bunk, we're going to be connecting it into the camera connector cable. Got male and female. It only lines up and goes one way. Once it's pushed in nice and secure, you want to make sure you screw that barrel connection down nice and tight. And then there's a rubber cover sleeve, a rubber sleeve here. You're going to want to slide that all the way down and over the whole connection. This helps to protect it from water, moisture, and intrusion or anything like that. From here, we're going to push it up into the hole that's under the cab. So we're going to need to get that wire through this grommet or pull this grommet apart and replace it. There really is no other way other than side cutting it to get to the center of this so that our wire can go up through the middle of it. So we're going to put that camera wire up through that same grommet with this. Okay. Got the cable up underneath there and through that grommet with just cutting it on the side. It's not a super easy task, but it is doable. Now if I can do it, I'm sure you can too. Just push all the wires up through. Make sure you can pull in from the inside of the cab here and pull up on the grommet straps and then seat it from both sides. So you should be able to reach inside here and under here to work that grommet into place. You want to make sure when you're feeling it that it seats all the way around and that it's solid and it's not going to pop out. Once that's done, you're done with that side. These connectors here come in the camera bag for the interior camera. And if you have some extras or if you don't use them on the install, which most people don't, they end up back in the bag. You can use them on the back of this 579 to hold the cable closer to the cab extender going down. We got the camera mounted, the cable's up into the sleeper berth, and we know that it's pulled forward. Next is routing it from the sleeper berth all the way up to the front of the cab. All right, we take up the extra slack from the back of the cab where we installed the camera, and we're gonna run this cable along the edge of the bunk. there is a protector on the wall there. We're going to get that nice and tight to that protector all the way towards the front of this box right here. Top of this frame that holds the mattress and the bed. Right at the end of that in the corner, we're going to drill a hole through this cabinet so that the camera cable can go right through it and drop down into this space. You're going to use a step bit, but a 3/4 inch hole is what you need. This just works for me. All right, once it's through and into this area here, then what we need to do is we need to get it into that area there and bring it forward. To make it easier on ourselves, we're going to pull this panel right here. We're going to pull this panel off. All right, it's snapped and Velcroed on, but this will give you an easier way to get through. So this cable is going to go back behind this platform down to the cab floor, and then you're just going to sneak it underneath and then just fish it out. Takes a little bit of wiggling, but it's doable. Once this is off, we're going to lay this across, and then everything goes right back into place. You put your cover back on. And then you snap and Velcro your pieces back onto the piece here. And that's it for back here. All right, so now we have our cable coming from the sleeper berth. This next part of the installation is to get this cable up front, disassemble this, and go ahead and put our components in. So first thing I do is I want to get this mat out of my way. You can wrestle with it if you want to, but I personally don't like to. All right, so with this out of the way, make sure you put your screws in a place that you can find them, don't lose them. You're going to tuck this cable up underneath any floor mat. Put everything back the way you found it. There we go. Get that nice and neat underneath there. Lay that cable in, and it's going to go up underneath there. At this point, you can save yourself some time of doing this, having to do this an hour later. You might as well get this put back on because it won't matter. You won't need to have it off anymore. Next step, we take the glove box out. It's a couple of pressure pins here that basically hold it in place, and then it just pops out. Get that out of your way. 2 screws here. We're going to remove this panel. We're going to remove this panel and be able to get access to where our positions are going to be. Bar, but you're going to want to pull this panel off. It could be a little stubborn, but it just pops right off. You don't need to take it completely off. Just get it out of the way. There's 2 screws. Looks like somebody took one out and didn't put it back, but there's a screw usually right here, and then one down here. And there you go.
like that. Save my screw. Basically just going to pop this loose. And then get this out of your way as well. So down here, this is where you're going to find those other RP1226 connectors. Both of them have terminators in them. We're going to use those one of those terminators and one of those ports. Both of them are the same, so you choose which one you want to do your install. Once again, this particular one had a VG54 gateway in it, so we recovered that from the deinstallation of the other system, and we're going to reinstall that with the cable that it had. If it wasn't a VG54 or 55, one of the newer gateways, you'll need to replace that and then use a new cable. So let's get started. So for purposes of the installation in this video, I'm doing it kind of laying down over the seat. You can choose to do it outside. I normally stand there. It's a little bit more comfortable, but quite just a similar position that when you're installing these as you do on the driver's side. So you've got your gateway and your camera connector, and then you have your connection to the truck itself. So choose one of these connections, and you'll have to get that terminator plug off of there. With the terminator plug off of there, you're going to basically plug in your gateway cable and lock that into place. On the other end, the open end, that's where you're going to put your terminal back in. Make sure it snaps into place and then lock it down. So now we're ready to start connecting components. First component we're going to connect will be our gateway. Only one place this cable can go in. Let's get it in nice and seated, and you should start seeing at least a blinking or a solid orange-yellow light on the back above the connector. Now, if the gateway has power coming to it and the vehicle is sending signals through, eventually that will probably go green, especially if this gateway was already connected to this truck once before. It will remember it. That's the first connection. That's the easy one. Next thing we're going to pull out will be our HD camera connector. This is what allows us to connect the side cameras. The kit comes with the HD connector and a couple of zip ties, which we're going to use to tie up our mount with. Do not discard the box just quite yet, because we're going to want you to take pictures of the boxes with their serial numbers to get those sent in. So we'll set that box off to the side. All right. You got 3 different connectors here. We're only going to use 2 of these. The USB connector is going to go into any one of these ports. I usually put mine to the left of it and then get that in there nice and seated. Notice how our light went green. This means that the gateway is connected and that it's got power and it looks like it's running as it should. Next thing we're going to do is connect our external camera. So we've got the female connector here, male connector there. Push them together, screw the barrel down. Your exterior camera is now connected. This particular connector here is if we have an external display on the dash that lets you see what that camera is seeing. We don't have those for our fleet, but this would go to an external display, which is not used. All right, next thing we're going to get out will be our CM34 dash camera, dual facing dash camera. So let's unbox that. All right, it'll come with these cable clips, which you can use in the installation. Again, don't discard the box. Let's set it off to the side because we're going to need the serial numbers from those. All right. Let's get our camera unwrapped. This is an important step because if you don't get the camera unwrapped and the coil undone, the coil of wires will fight you. And they do a really good job of packaging this. All right, so what I do is I just let the cable out and then I begin to unravel it, because you want this cable straight whenever you're going to try and route it. You don't want it crooked and twisting and turning. So let's get it out there and straightened up. And then I'm going to pull it back towards me so that I have the end that I need. and this is where we start routing this cable down. Once you have your camera connections in place, you're ready to mount your camera on the windshield. Disconnect the upper dash camera before you go moving it around and mounting it. The reason for this is while it's connected, once it fires up, it's going to throw a bunch of alerts and cause a bunch of things to show up in the safety inbox. And we have to end up getting rid of those before getting started. So just take that off for right now. Okay, so if you're getting ready to mount the camera and the light comes on and it beeps at you, disconnect the camera, then mount your camera. It has a very wide field of view, so as long as you get it centered on the windshield, you can always adjust the angle. Make sure it's centered and make sure it's level as best you can. And quite frankly, I've done hundreds of these things and mostly by eyeball, unless your eyeballs are crooked and then it won't work. All right, so basically I'm looking at the center of the visor and that's where I'm going to mount it. I think that's a good position. So next step is to get the windshield clean. Now I'm on a hot day today, so this windshield is nice and it's not cold. You do not want a cold windshield. If you're in a cold environment, you need a heat gun to get that windshield temperature up to like 70, 80 degrees or better. You don't want it super, super hot, but you definitely want this windshield warm and clean. So it comes with an alcohol pad. You can also use any other type of a cleaner product. Just make sure it's oil-free. Alcohol is usually one of the best products because it takes off all oils and residues from the windshield. This is especially important if you're in a truck that somebody does smoking or something like that in. And over clean, I mean, don't just give it a couple of swipes, just really give it a good rub to make sure that you're getting everything off of there wherever that pad might stick. All right, once you're done with that, take yourself a nice clean paper towel or a cloth. You want it dust-free. Oil-free is no oils, all right, no residues. And then you're going to want to get that really good and dry. Again, you can use a heat gun briefly on that to dry it off if you want, but it should be really kind of sticky. It shouldn't slide over very easily. That lets you know that it's done and there's no residue left on your paper towel. All right, camera mounting. Do not mount this thing upside down. You'll hate yourself. Wire goes up. Blue button facing you. Again, do a test look at where you're going to mount it. If that looks good, you're going to peel off the back. You get one shot at this. You can use your hands to steady it, point it right in the middle, get it nice and level, and then push it all the way to the windshield and hold. You're going to want to hold this for a good while. I mean, I usually try and give it a good 45, 60 seconds and just keep that pressure on it. This helps just to keep it to adhere to it, and that way you get a good solid mount and it doesn't come off later. It's off so I don't forget. Get those out of my way. Now, we're going to go ahead and tuck our cable up in here. This isn't always as easy as it shows. Someone told me I need to get one of those little pullers to pull this headliner down. But get it tucked up in there, nice and tight. And then once you've got that tucked up in there, we're going to go ahead and loosen the side bolts because we'll need to make some adjustments to this camera. Once you get it loose enough, it should be able to click and move around. I usually like to get it started in about that position. It's not straight up and down, it's pointing just a little bit downwards. Once we get into the application, you'll see the difference. Keep your Allen wrench handy. You're going to need that for both cameras. Another thing I like to do is to loosen up the inward camera here, and then I adjust that down, and there is actually
a calibration for that as well. So your Allen wrench has a thicker side and a smaller side that you use for the inward camera.
Now we're ready to connect our camera back up. So we're going to go ahead and plug in our dash camera, and when it sees it, it'll fire up and it'll be a light that'll show up on the camera.
Okay, well, so when running the cable from the camera, this is a 589, running the camera underneath here, running it up under the headliner. One of the things is taking apart this corner in the A-pillar piece. You don't have to take them way off or fully apart. Just got to snap them just slightly away from the wall of the truck so that you can sneak that cable up in and behind this corner piece here. And then you're going to loop it in front of the A-pillar cover, because that's going to allow you to drop it right into that channel that goes all the way down, make it nice and easy on you. Because once you get it into there, then it's just a matter of snapping that corner piece back up into place, getting this one routed down the corner there, pushing that back into place, and then snapping it in. So I've seen some guys take it completely apart. I've done that in the past, but I found that you don't really have to get it that far apart to get the job done. To get that snapped back into place, and then run your cable down that track, that little groove right in the little opening. Then you're gonna basically stuff your cable down through there and then catch it down on the bottom underneath the dash. Once you've got that done, you put your weather stripping back and start connecting up that camera. But make sure you don't connect the camera to the gateway until you get that thing mounted up nice and secure. Otherwise, it's going to create a bunch of alerts in the system.
All right. So you're going to have an excess of camera cable down here. You're going to want to make sure you're managing your cables and wind them up so that they're not super tight, but you definitely want them just not mangled up all over the place. What I like to do is I like to take my cable sets and I like to combine them where I can. My plan is so that whenever I get these bound up and then zip tied, I can zip tie this whole thing to it, and then this can go either underneath this one. So see how I've got everything zip tied together in a night, or I've not have zip tied, but I've got it all bundled together, and then I can basically zip tie this into a nice neat bundle. You do not want to bundle these together. For heat purposes, you want these two devices to be separate from each other. Okay, I don't know if this zip tie is going to reach or not. Make longer ones. So that's nice and neatly zip tied and ready to be tucked up underneath here and laid against the firewall. All right. So just as a point of reference, you should see a green light on the back side of the HD camera connector. That lets us know that everything's connected and it should be working fine. We'll check the images when we do our installation on the Samsara Fleet app. So the next thing we're going to do is basically tuck this back up underneath there. Okay. So this is how you should eventually see everything laying out. You should have your gateway zip tied to your cables. Then you have your HD camera connector in the back. Everything should be pushed back as far as it can against that firewall. And then your footwell cover will go over that.
Application, you'll see the difference. Keep your Allen wrench handy. You're going to need that for both cameras. Another thing I like to do is to loosen up the inward camera here. And then I adjust that down. And there is actually a calibration for that as well. So your Allen wrench has a thicker side and a smaller side that you use for the inward camera.
Now we're ready to connect our camera back up. So we're going to go ahead and plug in our dash camera. And when it sees it, it'll fire up and it'll be a light that'll show up on the camera.
So we're going to hit
So we're going to get the installation
Samsara
started on the
app.
application.
We're going to hit
install devices.
We're going to hit
You're going to
install
new device on this screen.
And
we're going to select
going to be
camera
installing a CM34
and the AHD1 camera connector.
AHD1. The gateway is already
and
installed
begin
on this particular one, so we don't need to do that. So we'll hit begin installation. It's going to ask us to select a vehicle.
On the screen, we're going to select the vehicle.
In this case,
and
we are
going to put in the vehicle that we're working on.
S2414.
In this case, it's S2414.
Select that
the vehicle,
hit done. And you'll notice that since the gateway is already paired to this, it's going to say gateway,
so now we're going to configure the camera
completed.
positioning, and we're
So
going to get started
configure
on
our camera positioning.
It's going
to tell you to mount, rotate the body so it hangs
we'll hit
vertical.
the next button.
Hit
and
next,
check our
and it's going to take a photo for you
camera
to tell
position.
you what it looks like.
And
right,
see
there's going to be a
looks.
horizontal line in there. You'll notice that
looks like it's a little bit high.
It's a little bit too high.
So we're going to make a little bit of an adjustment here. And then retake the photo.
In my app, it shows that I'm a little too high on that camera position. So I'm going to give it one click down, and then I'm going to retake the photo and see if that's better. That's a little bit better, but and I think actually that's a good shot right there. So we're going to leave that. We're going to hit next on our install. Now we're going to look at, it's going to tell you to tighten both of the screws down. So let's do that. That way we don't forget. Okay, now that we've got the screws tightened down, we're going to hit the next on the app. This one is going to align the inward camera. You hit next. Looks like it's a little bit high maybe. So we're going to angle that one down a touch. Retake the photo. That looks much better. So now we're going to tighten down that camera. Okay, with those cameras done, we tighten down. We're going to get all the way to the calibration complete and hit done. So that gets the inward camera done. Now we need to do the other camera side. All right, one of the things that we want you to do is take a picture of during the installation, and you're going to put that under add additional details. So you're going to touch add additional details, and it's going to have a place to put media. So you hit add media on it, and all we want you to do is take a picture of the truck number and the logo. Just something quite simple. Make sure you get the truck number in, and then you'll hit use photo and it'll go right into there. This is actually going to show up on the dashboard for the dispatchers and in our fleet. They'll see that truck number, they'll see that as part of it. Once you're done with that, you'll hit done. It's going to upload the media, and then you'll hit complete installation. That'll take you to the install camera connector. That's the very next step of the final step. And that, we're going to hit select the camera. And we're going to select cameras. It's going to ask how many you have. We're going to say 2 because we've got an inward camera and an outside camera. And then we're going to hit next. All right, now we're going to configure the camera positioning. We're going to tap on that. It should automatically bring up a camera image. First thing you're going to notice is it looks like it's on the driver's side. Make sure you tap to swap it vertically or across, horizontally rather. All right. And then make sure you've got an image. In this case, it looks like we've got a pretty good image. If we don't like the alignment, we can adjust it. But what we want to see is about an equal amount of sky and ground so that your horizon line is right about in the middle. And that should give us our best vantage point. If it looks good, you hit done, complete the installation, and you're done. So, important step, we've got the camera aligned. Now we need to tighten those 4 screws to make sure that the camera doesn't vibrate out of its current position. And if you haven't done so, make sure that that lens cover, protective lens cover, has been taken off. You would probably notice it in the installation. It would be a little bit blurry, but if you happen to notice that little red tab and that plastic cover, get that thing off before you leave the truck. All right, that's done. All right, so before I get to putting this all away, I just want to take one last visual look, make sure that my cables are nice and neat and everything is in there. I'm going to go ahead and clean up my trash, get my trash out of the way. Might save me a little step later. Just keep all that handy, nice and neat. All right. So, first step is our footwell cover. This has got to go in. Just kind of slides in there. It only goes in one way. There's latches for it to connect to. Snaps, snap, snap, and now that's in place. You should have 4 screws, one here, and 2 here. Be careful if you're using the impact not to get too aggressive. Make sure it seats, the screw seats before getting that screw screwed in. You don't want to strip it out and cause problems. Okay, normally I'd put a screw here, but they didn't give me one. So now we're just going to bring this around, and it should hopefully snap into place. There it goes. Sometimes you just got a little bit violent with it, but it will go in, snap in place. Everything's nice and tight. Last thing is the glove box. Slip it down into there. Push these in a little bit to make it go. It's a little easier to get it in. Test it out, make sure it doesn't fall out. Your installation is complete. Don't forget to put the floor mat back. That's not very professional to forget the floor mat. So, all right, we got the floor mat in. Next step we're going to do is record our serial numbers, and then those get sent in so that we know what camera and equipment went into which truck. Okay, as part of the installation process, while you're in the installer app, we're going to want you to put or record the serial numbers of the different components that you put into the truck. In this particular one, I did a CM34 and an HD camera connector. Those 2 pieces have serial numbers that we're going to want to track. So you're going to go to the app, put media in, just like you did for the take and the picture of the truck number. Just line your boxes up and then take a picture of those. Make sure that it's clear. Hit use photo. It should pop up in there. And if you need to take any other photos of the installation, this is a great place to put them. That way we can see them, and you don't have to worry about emailing anything. Once that's in, you just hit the done button and it'll upload it. Got it. Okay. Once you got this recorded in there and you know that the picture's taken, you don't need the boxes anymore. If you happen to have forgotten to take a picture of the serial numbers on the boxes and you've already completed your installation, you can do one of 2 things. You can take that picture of those boxes and send it directly to me, and then I can take care of it. Or you can go back into the installer app, and what you'll have to do is hit install new device and then choose a camera to install, because it won't require specific things. Once you choose a camera to install, hit begin installation. You'll have to select the vehicle all over again. Once you've selected your vehicle and you're into that profile, it's not going to let you add additional details until you check out the camera that you're planning on installing, which has already been installed. So if you hit the configure camera and then just keep hitting next until it goes all the way through and then done, then it'll allow you to hit the add installation details. Once you hit that, then you can add your media. So that's only if you forget to do it while you're still in the app, while you're still doing the installation, before you hit complete. One final step, make sure you put the camera cover on. Our fleet doesn't have inward facing cameras, so just have one of these blue cameras, just snap it in place as a nice courtesy to the driver.